shooters down and hit you on the block. Ain't a janitor, but I hit you with a mop. Better watch your friends, they quick to turn the odds. And that bitch nigga will play you for a thought. Ain't no style watch, yeah, my shit go TikTok.
Alright, let's get into it. If you guys are here, you've already clicked on the video, you've already read the title, you know why you're here. You're here to improve your park skiing in the summer. And honestly, this will help with pretty much all sports, winter related and vice versa. If you're doing a summer related sport, help out during the winter. Basically off-season training tips for action sports, mostly relating to skiing and park skiing in general. First of all, I picked 5 ones just because 5 is a nice round number. I like the way it sounds. But there are a few other things that I will add, and then just kind of like a little pro tip that I think should be in the 5, but I didn't want to go over 5, so yeah. It's at the end. With that in mind, let's get into the first tip. First tip is probably the most basic one, most obvious one, but pretty much the most important one of all of them. It's going to the gym, stretching, and being consistent. Very obvious, very, very important. Let me know what you guys think, but I would probably rank this the highest one up, especially for off-season, for training for athletes. If you can come into the next season in even better shape, or if you're in really good shape before and maintain that strength, maintain that health, that's probably one of the biggest things you can do. If you want me to provide you guys with workouts or exercises, I will do that in the future. There's just huge benefits to being in the gym. First of all, you're working towards that end goal of becoming a better athlete. So when you're in the gym, and even though it's mundane and it's kind of boring, it can be obnoxious, you know it's in your subconscious that you are working towards that goal. And first of all, not only will you feel better about what you're doing, you'll feel more confident. It does really help out. Stretching, I would say, is probably equally as important as going to the gym and working out. If you're just lifting weights and you get all stiff and sore and you're not working on your movement as well. So gym, stretching, movement, first one. Do all 3 of those things in the off season. It'll really boost you for the next season. First of all, you're going to be able to do bigger tricks, which is what you're doing it for. You're also going to be a lot less injury prone, which is pretty much the biggest thing that will slow you down from progressing in an action sport or any sport in general. So very important, first one. The second tip is pretty much solely for skiing or snowboarding, sports that involve air awareness. I would say this is very, very important for skiing. It's getting a trampoline. If you can get access to an Olympic trampoline in your off season to help with your air awareness, to help with your accesses, that'll be the biggest thing that you can do outside of actually being on snow or doing water ramps. For me personally, we had me and my brother, my sister, about 5 or 6 years ago pitch in, and we all bought an Olympic trampoline together. Put it in the ground at our house. Very expensive to do. Somebody is always on it every single day. So if you get it, it's not like you're just going to get it and not use it. It's something that you'll use just because it's fun. Like, I think me and Podcast Power were talking about this earlier, but it's something we're always on. We're always using it, and it's just really, really good for your air awareness. The biggest thing to work on the trampoline for skiing is to work on your sets, your takeoffs, and your accesses. So for me, I personally do a lot of progressions. So cork 7 sets, double cork sets, switch cork 9 sets, rodeo 5 sets. You can pretty much do it for every single trick. And then also taking it to your feet. When you start putting a lot of miles on tricks to feet on a Olympic trampoline, it starts to take a decent toll on your body. So I personally stick to progressions a little more. Obviously, if you guys have seen any of the videos that I have in the past, I like to do gnarly stuff. I like to send. It's kind of just part of who I am. But I will go out to the trampoline and do gnarly tricks to feet. But if I do like an hour and a half of like sending on the trampoline, I wake up the next morning and I'm very sore. So first of all, biggest thing I would say is work on your sets. Make sure you watch videos. Make sure you figure out what the proper set is for that trick and get it dialed in, because it's going to help you with your tricks so much on snow. Once you get the proper set, play around with it. You can try different accesses, different sets. Like proper cork set, you want to get your hips up and you really want to focus on that in the trampoline. Get that dialed in. Once you get that dialed in, you're comfortable with it. It's something that you have stuck in your mind. Then you can start maybe playing with setting around a little more, pretending you're carving on the trampoline, or just trying like more of a flatter cork axis. There's a bunch of different things, but I would say the biggest thing on the trampoline is making sure you're getting your axes. Grabs come easily on trampoline. Obviously you can't grab blunt or tail or anything like that, but Japan, mute, all those grabs, there's tons of them that you can do on the trampoline in your tricks and in your progressions that I would say is huge also for snow. Just because when you go to set and you come around, that grab's there and you know where it is. It feels comfortable. It doesn't feel unique. If you guys are just getting into skiing and the trampoline, I would suggest just doing like 360 mute grabs just so you get the feeling of it, reaching down, bringing your knees in to your chest. When you go to snow, easiest thing ever. You don't need an Olympic trampoline to work on that. You can work on your switch takeoffs on trampoline, looking over your shoulder, popping up, bringing your knees to your chest, grabbing, doing like switch threes on a black bed trampoline. All that stuff is super good and definitely very beneficial. The only thing about using a trampoline is you just have to make sure that when you're doing it properly and you're not creating bad habits for yourself for in the future. Because if you do that, then that's when it's going to become a problem. But if you don't and you make sure you reinforce those good habits on the trampoline, it'll improve your game immensely. All right, third one is backyard setup. I put this one after trampoline, but it depends on what kind of skiing you want to do. If you're more into filming and you're less into competing and doing bigger tricks, you could switch backyard rail setup in front of trampoline, but they kind of go hand in hand. A backyard setup is pretty much the best way to get your rails dialed in and pretty much the closest thing you can do to skiing outside of going to Maximize or a big airbag setup like that. So when you're doing that, or dry slope, I guess you could go to dry slope, but I'm talking for more Ontario people that don't have a dry slope. The closest airbag is like 8-10 hours away. So this is what I would suggest. I would suggest a backyard setup, and you make sure you have nice rails, different rails. You can set up a variety of rails. Backyard setups are expensive, but you can do them for cheaper. You can make it yourself for cheap. It kind of comes down to how nice of a backyard setup you want. You can make a backyard setup that's functional for, I would say, $200-300, which isn't a lot. $200-300, you have a functional backyard setup that you can practice all your tricks on. Obviously, you're not going to be able to do 4s on. You might not be able to do switch 2s on, but you're going to be practicing that edge control, doing all 8 swap 2 outs, and other tricks like that, doing maybe back swap, back swap, back swap, just really messing around with the edge control. And if you can do that on a backyard rail setup and you can get your edge control dialed in on real rails on snow, it's going to be that much easier, and you're going to have insane consistency when you get back to the snow. It's going to feel like you never left. Like, you're going to hop on a rail and it's going to feel like you have magnets under your feet, especially when you get to real rails with proper lifts at a ski hill. It's going to make the world of a difference. If that's something you can't do, I would suggest rollerblading. Rollerblading is also another good one. We're not going to count this as 4, but this is just going to go hand in hand with number 3. Yes, you don't grind in rollerblading the same as you grind in skiing. You can grind the same, but it's a little less common. One of the big things about rollerblading is you're practicing on getting that rail perfectly under your feet. If you're going to grind fully 90, that has to be perfectly under your feet. You can still practice getting your 4s, 2s, front 2s out. If you're really good at rollerblading, you can obviously do 2s on and other things like that. Another really good thing about rollerblading, especially if you're rollerblading in bowls or if you're rollerblading on a quarter pipe or a jump or anything like that, it really teaches you to stagger your feet, especially when going switch. But it also teaches you how to ride transitions well, because in skis, if you're going to ride half pipe, not necessarily slopestyle and rails as much, but if you want to be a good skier, you should really know how to ride transitions, and it'll help a lot for half pipe as well. So rollerblading is something you can supplement for a backyard setup if you had to. I would suggest just trying to do it no matter what in the summer. First of all, it's pretty fun, and if you can get your hands on a pair of rollerblades, why wouldn't you? The 4th tip is something I hope you're doing anyways, especially if you're planning on being an athlete, but you need to be active in other sports. I think one of the biggest things you can do to help increase your game or improve your game in any sport for that matter is to be a multi-sport athlete. Maybe you're not going to be the best in that second sport or that third sport that you pick, but you're going to push yourself, you're going to practice competition, you're going to practice showing up in training, and you're going to get very comfortable with your body doing different movements that you're not necessarily used to, right? So let's say you only ski and all you do is ski, you train just for skiing. Well, the movements your body is comfortable with is very limited to just that. And when something goes wrong or something steps outside of the world of skiing when you're at the ski hill, say you fall in a weird way that you're not used to moving to get in your body in a certain position. Also, I think it's just really good for you in terms of mental health, pushing yourself for competition in not only the one sport. And like I said, it's very, very good for the movement of your body. If you know how to kick a soccer ball, you know how to do gymnastics, you know how to do a bunch of different things. Every sport uses a different part of your body. And if you can mix as much of it together and then focus mainly on your one sport, I think that's really huge to increasing your game. So definitely stay active and stay connected to other sports and using your body in different ways throughout the off season. The 5th one is kind of an at-home one, but I think it's still very important. It's film and study and to visualize. So if you're at home, obviously you have lots of time. Most of us who are athletes in skiing or snowboarding or any action sport for that matter already go out and watch people's content that they put out and people's videos, people's edits. But to really sit down and study how they do tricks when they're doing that, obviously you want to watch it for pleasure. It makes you motivated. It gets you excited to go out and ski again, which is all good. But when you actually sit down and watch the way they scissor their feet when they do a trick out of a rail, the way they set on a takeoff, the way they reach for the grab, where they're looking in the air, things like that really, really helps. just to get an idea of how somebody else is doing it, and you can kind of compare it to the way you do it and see if it's something that you think might benefit your game, might not benefit your game. Really helps that way. Also, you get a lot of creativity watching other people ski. You get new ideas and stuff, which ultimately will increase your game. The more creative of a skier, more creative of an athlete you are, the better. I would say another huge thing that goes hand in hand with that, the film and study, is to visualize. Like, bare minimum, you should be visualizing at least your basic tricks. You should be able to see the tricks in your head. Obviously, visualizing your tricks and doing that is better than just sitting at home and not doing it. But if you're able to visualize a comp run fully in your head to the point where it's like 80-90% real, then you are basically getting another rep. So for me, I personally would visualize my comp run 20 to 50 times a night before contest. A little excessive, I know, but there's a few studies out there that say visualizing, if it's done properly and you can really put yourself in that moment, is like 75% as effective as actually doing the training and being on slope. Obviously, I'm just pulling numbers on my ass, but it is something somewhere close to that. I remember listening to it on a podcast. I personally find it really helps. And if you can sit down and you can train, you can practice visualization to get to the point where it feels real, where it feels like you can tell in your mind, this is where I dip my toe to grip that rail. This is where I'm popping off the jump. I'm spotting, I'm coming around and grabbing. All that stuff will really help, especially when you're doing tricks you've already done, or when you're trying to figure out a new trick. Like if you're trying to figure out a new trick, say you've never done a dub 10 and you want to do a dub 10, you can watch other people do it, you can see where they spot, maybe you've practiced it a couple of times on trampoline, but then sit down and you visualize how you're going to do the trick. You're going to sit down and you're going to go, okay, I'm coming into the jump, here's the lip, pop, here's my set, I'm coming around, I'm going through my split, I see the knuckle for the second, pulling over again, grabbing mute or whatever, and then coming around and then visualizing yourself landing it. All that stuff is really, really, really beneficial. So I would definitely add that to your list of things to do. Maybe not the highest up in the list, but if you have time, make time for it. Last one. I said I promised you guys an extra tip at the end, and I am going to deliver. So last tip, Bruce's big tip that I have found just has really helped me a lot this last season and the seasons before that, is to push yourself mentally. Like just outside of the sport, outside of training, just in general life, to push yourself and to do things you don't want to do. It's basically David Goggins 101, but if you're very uncomfortable doing uncomfortable things, you get to a contest where you should feel uncomfortable, or you get to go to do your first, say you're going to do your first dub 10 like we talked about earlier. If you're comfortable pushing yourself mentally and you're comfortable doing uncomfortable things, it's going to be very, very easy to get yourself in the mindset to go do that dub 10 for the first time. So for me, I've added cold showers, I've added ice baths every night, and like just a little bit of the things I've added, like just a little touch, but something you could easily add into your lifestyle, that I have found sitting through those things, making myself do it, has greatly just improved my ability to perform when I need to, and to just get things done. Like if you have something you want to do, but you're uncomfortable doing it, something you know you should do, but you don't want to do it, knowing in the back of your mind that you have pushed yourself to sit in an ice bath for 6 minutes the night before, going to do your first dub 10, you're going to be like, okay, I can do this. Not, what if I fall? Not, what if I don't make it? You're going to be like, okay, I got this. You're going to have that extra little bit of confidence that really makes the difference. All right, so those were the 5 tips I had to improve your park skiing or improve in your sport in the off season. I really hope this helped you guys, and I would love to hear what you guys think is a good way to improve your park skiing in the off season. I think we touched many of the basic ways. Obviously, one we missed is airbags, like maximize. If you're able to do something like that, that should be top priority of your list up here. Other than that, I think we covered most of them, but let me know if I missed any in the comments down below. Also, you guys know what to do. Like the video, subscribe if you haven't already. It helps me out, and we can take these videos and take all the support that comes from videos like this and the other videos that we have on the channel and just pool it together to start taking over and, you know, creating the cult that we all want to be a part of. So with that being said, I'll see you guys in another video. Cheers from the kid to you with love.